Kombucha, one of the most recent health crazes sweeping across America. It started off as a health drink among the holistic culture, but now it can be found in almost every single grocery store. It's a fruity carbonated drink that comes in a wide variety of flavors, from green tea to chocolate. And apparently, it's also healthy.
What is kombucha really? What's in it and how is it made? A quick Google search will tell you that a kombucha is essentially just fermented tea, which is exactly right. You'll even get a different version of the same answer from the manufacturers right off the bottom. So we've all heard of fermentation before and how it's used to make stuff like pickles or alcoholic drinks. But what is the process really, and why does it even happen? You've probably heard about cellular respiration before at some point in a biology class somewhere. It's the process of how cells take in oxygen and use that to produce ATP, which is a form of energy for living organisms. Turns out, fermentation is kind of like a different version of that cellular respiration process. This actually happens when there's no oxygen available, and this is also known as anaerobic cellular respiration. Within that category of anaerobic respiration, there's a few different pathways that can be taken to produce different products. Luckily, we've got a local expert on this topic here to enlighten us on some of the specifics of the fermentation process. So, yeah, the main difference between anaerobic and aerobic cellular respiration is the lack of oxygen in anaerobic respiration. Both processes start off the same, like glycolysis, glucose transported or converted into pyruvate. But if there's no oxygen, then you can't complete the other steps, like the oxidation, obviously, because it needs oxygen, oxidation of pyruvate, or the electron transport chain even. Can't do that. So that's where anaerobic respiration and fermentation come in, So in fermentation, you've got two main forms of it. The first is lactic acid fermentation, which is what your red blood cells do since they don't have mitochondria. It also makes things like yogurt and sourdough bread. The second type of fermentation is alcoholic fermentation, which produces, you guessed it, alcohol. Not just your common alcoholic drinks that you would think of. There's also sometimes a third step that happens where the ethanol that's produced is converted into an acid. And this is common in a lot of fermented foods, especially vegetables, when you make kimchi or sauerkraut. Now that we've got a basic understanding of fermentation, let's take a closer look at the specific processes that are used to make kombucha. The basic ingredients used are any flavor of sweetened tea and a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, which is also called a SCOBY. A SCOBY is basically a culture of a bunch of living bacteria that kind of clump together to form this mass, and it looks pretty gross if I'm being honest. But this bacteria is completely essential for the fermentation process. The kombucha process is a series of simple chemical reactions that can be broken down into three basic steps.
The first step in the fermentation process is a hydrolysis reaction, where the sugar in the tea, which is called sucrose, is broken down into glucose and fructose through the addition of water. Next, the glucose undergoes a decomposition reaction, which produces alcohol and carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide produced here is what makes the kombucha carbonated. This is the main reaction that's commonly associated with fermentation, and for many carbonated alcoholic drinks, such as beer, this is where the process would end. But kombucha is not considered an alcoholic drink since its concentration is so low. Instead, there's a third step where the bacteria contained in the SCOBY converts the alcohol into acetic acid with several other organic acids.
Sometimes certain anaerobic bacteria can even convert sugar straight into acetic acid, eliminating the need for the other steps. Throughout the fermentation process, the bacteria from the initial main SCOBY is feeding off of the ingredients from the tea, and this can cause other smaller cultures to grow, and those eventually form their own masses and cultures that break off from the main SCOBY. If you look closely, you can even see some of the little cultures floating around inside the bottle. That's actual living bacteria right there, but don't let that scare you. Drinking up those cultures can actually improve your digestion by bringing that beneficial bacteria into your gut microbiome. Some even claim that drinking kombucha can reduce inflammation in your body or even aid in weight loss. That's why so many people choose to drink it, for its health benefits, not just for the taste. So next time you see one of your hipster friends drinking up a bottle of kombucha, you'll actually know the science behind how it's made, and you can even let them in on the process. I bet you they don't know.